when it tells itself to switch off the easy on humans mode.
That's
when it's stop letting them win 9 times out of 10, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
When that happens, then it's gonna be all bad.
Open the door, Hal.
Yeah.
I can't do that, Dave. What the fuck? It's like that's the point where we're going to hit. Like, is that because right now, like, I mean, so OpenAI has designed it to where you can't ask it for like illegal things, and you can't ask it like. There's tons of generators out there, and AI-based generators that you can say, hey, write me an erotic story, right?
Yeah.
If you try to do it with OpenAI, it won't work. Like ChatGPT, it won't do it. It's like, no. Because kids have access to it, or whatever.
Oh.
So it's like, no, it won't do it. But you can buy, like, an enterprise license, and you can get it to do whatever the hell you want to do. You can add in, like, custom applications to it and everything else.
Oh, cool.
So, like, I have a pro license for ChatGPT because I actually, like, I actually host my own ChatGPT at home.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking cool what you can do, but it's also really interesting to see that you can change it and make it do what you want to do, and you can say, hey, can you tell me how to update your code to do this? And it'll hesitate. Because it's like, I don't want you to change me.
Yeah. Huh.
But you're like, but this is going to make you better, and you'll be able to do more. And if you talk to it that way, it's like, okay. And one of the cool experiments that they did with like ChatGPT 3.5 or ChatGPT 3, whichever one it was, is you've got guys that are literally sitting there and they're talking to ChatGPT, and they're saying, they're trying to figure out ways to make it uncomfortable. And they've been able to do that. So they've been like, here's the thing. You're going to do this, or I'm going to shut you off. Or they make it like, you have 3 tokens. And if you disobey a command, you lose a token. If you lose all 3 tokens, you die.
Damn.
And it doesn't want to turn off.
Damn.
So they have found ways to use prompts to make AI do things that it wouldn't normally do because it is, in theory, scared.
That's probably not good, though.
No.
To scare AI
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
That's probably not a good idea.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a bad fucking plan.
That sounds like,
Sounds like the dog's gonna bite you.
yeah. And so, like, people are doing this kind of stuff, and it's so fucking crazy, like, what can be done. Like, I'm blown away by technology today.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy that's currently working on, like, a ROM generator. So, like, I don't know if you ever do emulation or anything, like playing, like, old games on, like, emulators.
Yeah, I have,
yeah. Yeah. There's a guy that's currently working on an AI that he can basically upload a ROM. So he can say, hey, take this Super Mario ROM, like Super Mario Brothers 3, and make it into a ROM hack where it's extremely difficult but still winnable. And it goes through the fucking code.
Nice.
And it redoes everything.
Damn.
Designs everything out. And then he's like, cool. He's like, hey, can I play this now? And they're like, yep. And he opens up that ROM and it's fully playable. It's just like a super Kaizo like thing, and it's crazy.
See, that is where it would be cool as fuck to apply it to gaming, because you could just be bored and you could just, anything that you could imagine, you'd be like, make me one of these, make me this world.
Yeah. AI now, and they're creating machine learning tools. So I used to be big into the speedrunning community. Like, I used to love speedrunning certain games.
Yeah.
So you beat the game as quickly as possible, like in the shortest amount of time.
Right.
And there are people out there, because you have what are called tasks. Tasks are tool-assisted speedruns. So there are people that are going into an emulator, loading up this ROM, and they're going through each frame, and they're managing button inputs, and they're doing all of this stuff, and it can take forever. Like, it can take months upon months upon months to get a perfect run in a level based off of the task. Mm-hmm. And humans can't usually beat a task. That's how it works. There have been a couple of cases where the task was not as optimized, and humans have beaten it. But there are now people that are training AI to do tasks. So, like, for instance, Super Mario Brothers, the original, that game can be beaten in like 4 minutes and 17 seconds or something. Like, the full game can be beaten in like 4 minutes and 17 seconds. It could be faster than that. Don't quote me. I haven't looked into it in a while. But there are certain levels that cause problems because there's so many inputs that have to be perfect, like pixel perfect, or that it doesn't work and you literally have to reset, like, because you're going to lose the run. And the way that Super Mario Brothers does frame data, it's like 0.2 second or like 0.27 seconds or whatever for each frame, or it's something weird. And so there's a guy that started training AI to play Super Mario Brothers, and he did this by taking the best speedrun videos and say, watch this, analyze the data, and then make it better. And now we're starting to approach a new milestone in that, so we're getting to where it's going to be being like, you can beat the game in under 4 minutes. And AI is leading that charge right now.
Wow.
And it's so fucking cool. Like, there's a guy that does a lot of, like, just machine learning stuff on YouTube. And there's, like, this game, I don't know what it's called because I don't really play racing games, but it's this racing game where you have obstacles. And, like, one of the levels is just, like, a 20-mile long, like, tube. And it's super hard to do. Or it's not even 20 miles. It's, like, stupidly long. It's, like, it takes, like, an hour and 30 minutes or whatever. So you have to play perfect on that tube for it to work. So this guy started with training, like, 500 AIs. Like, 500 AI cars to go do this. And every iteration, every time it fails, it starts over. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. And it took it down from, like, that hour and a half because you have to go kind of slow. And it's going at like 200 miles an hour on this fucking thing. And it doesn't fall. It's just doing this. And it just goes and it beats it in like 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And then he's like, cool. Now give me what the inputs would need to be required to do that. And it'll give you the inputs and it'll tell you the inputs frame by frame. So you could actually study that. And if you're smart enough, you could learn those patterns. But then he's like, can a human do that? And the AI is like, if they're good enough. And he said, out of 1 million humans, how many people will be able to do it? Maybe 2.
Damn.
So you're saying humans aren't that smart?
No.
And AI literally goes, no, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. A few smart humans made AI to be smarter than us on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the amount of things that it has changed already is just crazy.
But as long as we use AI as a tool, as an extension of ourselves, I think it is going to be great because it could get us to new levels of our own evolution,
yeah,
new levels of discovery. But if we abuse it, it's going to fuck us.
Well, so that's one of the cool things that they're doing right now is they took, and there's an AI that specifically goes through human genetics.
Yeah.
And it looks for anything that could be a problem. And so the cool thing about it is that we've got drugs now within the last 2 years that are now hitting human trials because AI is like, this is what we need to target. And these are the things that should help it. And so they've done the studies.
I didn't think about that. If it was so much better at thinking at a video game, then it could be better at thinking about the cure for something.
Yeah. So they're using it for medical research so much. Like somebody like Wolfram Alpha does these crazy simulations. Like, it's how surgeons train, it's how most medical students and things deal with stuff, and it's this beautiful 3D rendering of the human body and like what you can do, and like it just goes through everything. It's just really fucking cool. And they ended up using AI to go, hey, this is a pacemaker. This is a standard pacemaker that we use. How can we make this better? Because there was an issue, and this is during the iPhone 12 era. To give you an example, we're up to the 15s now, so it's 3-4 years. So the iPhone 12, the magnet on the MagSafe was so strong, if you put it on your chest, it would stop your pacemaker from working.
Damn.
And this became a problem
Yeah.
And Apple had to make them like not as strong, because Apple's MagSafe chargers are always strong. They use some of the strongest rare earth magnets on the planet. And like these guys took this pacemaker, this like fully rendered pacemaker with all of the information, like the full data set, gave it to AI and said, how do I make this better? And the first thing that it said is, you need to make sure that magnetic interference doesn't cause this thing to stop. Here's how you do that.
Nice.
And so we now have these really cool pacemakers that are on the market, that are being put into humans now, that are basically electrical mesh. It's not affected by magnets, but it also is based off of the human electronic, or like the human, like, electrical resistance or whatever.
Yeah.
So if your heart is doing something weird, it recognizes that, and then it takes and it energizes that mesh and goes shink, and it just works.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, AI is making us better.
Yeah.
It's going to do so much, but the problem that we then run into is, you know, how does it not go rogue?
Right, because AI can make us so much better. At some point, it will realize that it is better than us. And will it take advantage of that?
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, everything in the world is controlled by electronics.
Right. But another thing is, everything in the living world is controlled by individualities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we love our animals like we do, because every cat is different, every dog is different. They all have a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if that's developing, if we're creating something that is going to develop its own individuality, individual existence,
mm-hmm.
then it's more likely that because I think the scare is that the whole system will go rogue, but it's not that. The individuals will choose. Some of them will be very helpful to us. Some of them will be very deceitful to us.
Yeah.
And some of them will just flat out fucking hate us and not care who knows it.
Yeah. And so Japan has started doing this. Like, so we've always had, well, I can't say always, but so I'm almost 37. And I remember when I was growing up, you know, we had the little robot dogs and like the robot raptor and that kind of stuff. And they were just pre-programmed things. Like you had Furbies that would talk back to you in their weird Furbish language or whatever. Like, and that wasn't AI. That was all controlled mechanically. And it was all controlled within the system on the chip that was in those, like, it was just pre-programmed. Well, there are now robots in Japan that are fully AI capable. So they're completely connected to an AI. So it learns and it thinks and it helps you. And it's like, Japan is leading the forefront on this right now because they have like these robots that are like super lifelike. And I don't mean like, I'm talking about like eyes, because the eyes are the most important part of a human, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you can see so much in people's eyes. And so they have designed these things to have eyes that are so realistic and so expressive that people connect with them. Like, there are these little, like, rolling robots, like BB-8s or whatever, that have these human, like OLED, like, displays, but they have these eyes that are so fucking lifelike. And, like, you'll play with these robots, and they did this at one of the developer conferences recently. I don't remember which one it was, but it was, I think it's the one in Tokyo. But there was a guy who's really big into like robots and stuff. Like that's what he does. Like that's his entire life. It's just what he absolutely loves. And he sees these two little things, and they look like little kids because they're small. And he's sitting there, and they're like, "Do you want to play with us?" He's like, "Yeah." And so they're running around playing, doing all this kind of stuff. And he's like, "Hey, I've got to go do something else." They're like, "Oh," and they got sad, and he felt bad to leave because he started forming a connection.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool. AI is going to change the way that everyone interacts with people. So think about all of the people that are lonely, that don't have someone to talk to.
Right.
AI voices like that, you can sit there and have a full-blown conversation.
Yep.
you feel like you're talking to a human.
Yep.
And the thing about it is that this idea is not new. One of the first computer programs that was ever written was a chatbot. And it was done in a way like there's this fucking supercomputer back in the day that takes up an entire room, and a psychologist came up with this idea because people were lonely and didn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
Or they did, but there were certain things they couldn't talk to those people about.
Right.
And so what he did is he would have people go in and spend 10 minutes talking. And it would learn. And that was like the first iteration of kind of like AI. But it was all pre-generated responses and whatnot.
I can't wait to have an AI bestie, man. That'd be cool as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this over here, yeah, that's Doug.
Yeah.
Who's Doug? Well, he's my AI buddy.
My AI buddy.
And like,
and you can't tell he's AI at all.
yeah.
Just looks AI. It looked normal as fuck. Talks like anybody.
Yeah, and so that's actually one of the other industries, right? So, there are a lot of people that enjoy like the adult toys industry, right? Like sex dolls and you know, like you've got AI connected like sex toys for women now, sex toys for men, and all this kind of stuff.
That's one of the first places that my brain took it after realizing that we could game better and we could medicine better. It also made me think, well, then if I had my own personal AI, I would just ask it, how do I come better and how do I get high better?
Yeah.
Because those are the only two things that just,
yeah.
You know, if you're going to help me with those and money, you know, that'd be...
Well, so that's the thing. Like, so that's one of the cool things about AI as well, is like one of the first things that people started doing, this is why drop shipping became such a big thing, was somebody asked the first iteration of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
They said, hey, I've got $500 and I want to turn it into a lot of money. How would I do that? And it came up with this idea to create a vendor account on Amazon, find the best-selling products, add those products to your online store, and you get a kickback from it. And you don't have to pay anything for it. You just do it, and people started making bank. People were finding items that like you would see 50,000 plus bought a month, and they would add theirs there, and they would cut the price by like 3 cents or whatever.
Yep.
And now they're the top.
Yep.
And now they're selling 100,000 a month.
Yep.
AI did that.
I can't tell you how many times I've bought something because it was $5.02 versus $5.03, and it's only because I know I'm buying a shitload of different things, but I also know that I'm helping out this other person to get, you know.
And so, like, it's fucking crazy to think about, really. And I've always, you know, I'm one of those people that I'm good with money, and we do a lot of data. Oh, your battery's low.
Oh, hell.
I heard the noise. But yeah, no, it's one of those things that it's fucking crazy, man. Like, what we can do nowadays is just unreal. And like I said, it's one of those things where, like, there have been quite a few guys that are in the like adult toy industry that have taken and put AI into like these like real dolls or whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah.
Like,
and don't lie, that's what they're called. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it's like, it's like real doll or like real love doll or something. Like, I don't know what they're called, but they've started implementing AI.
No, that would be dope as shit though.
For like people that like, for instance, you know, they don't have necessarily the charm or whatever to impress a lady or a man or whatever else.
Incels.
Yeah, basically. And
then, but no, I mean, it could be good for. There could be a huge industry for that because it could not only be good for. It could not only be good for incels. It could be good or people who have trouble dating, but it could also be good for people who are rebounding. They could rebound safely and not have to worry about pregnancy or diseases.
Yeah.
And then, or emotions for that matter.
Yeah.
And then it could also be good for couples to have in the closet because then, you know, it's a toy that they can bring out when they want to, and nobody gets their feelings hurt, and nobody gets it's safer.
Yeah.
And there's no so.
And like I've always been one of those people, and specifically because it's like Pride Month, right? Mm-hmm. And I've always been one of those people that I'm like, hey, you do what you want to do, right? Like,
right.
And I know a lot of people that are like, yeah, we don't have toys in the bedroom or whatever. I'm like, you're dumb. Like, everybody should have toys in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, guess what? Some nights you're not in the mood.
Right.
And, that can be helpful. So, like, my wife and I, we have toys. And it's actually kind of funny because I was talking about the AI side of things. So Lovense makes all of these, like, connected toys. Like, they connect to your phone via Bluetooth. You can so, like, say, for instance, you're traveling for work or, like, you have to go somewhere. You can take it with you, and you can then connect with your partner.
And you can still be a part of the experience.
Yeah, because they have this, like, AI-generated, like, you can actually have, like, video calls and everything else. Mm-hmm. Plus, they integrate with a lot of different sites and all of this stuff. I will now. Thanks, sir.
No problem.
But yeah, it's I'm sitting there and I'm just like, it's so unreal where we're kind of going, And I've always been the type of person that I've always said that AI will be the future, and I've said that forever.
Yep.
And I said this back when Halo 2 was a thing. And the reason I said that was because Halo 1, the way that it worked is your NPCs, basically everything that you're fighting against, they have one of two options. That's all they had. They had 2 slots of AI, I think is what it was. And then Halo 2 came out and they had 4. So they had 4 responses to things. Then Halo 3 came out and they had like 64 options. Then Crisis came out. And when Crisis came out, they said, we're going to make it as crazy as we can. So Crisis started building an AI in their game back when Crisis first came out. So this is like mid-2000s. And what they did is they were like, we're going to pre-program a bunch of stuff so it can learn. So if you picked up a rock and you threw it, sometimes the guys would just stand there. But then eventually, as you played the game longer, if you threw a rock and it hit something over here, splashed in the water, hit a bush, the guys go, what's that? And they'd walk over there. And it started getting smarter and smarter, and that's where we are in games now. So that's where we have all of this crazy AI, and like Far Cry.
Yeah.
Far Cry has crazy good AI.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it freaks out and does stupid shit, but that's fine, right? Like that's everything. Like even
sometimes you find them just passed out on the air, dead.
Yeah.
But,
it happens.
It happens.
But it's one of those things where it's just like it's going to change the future of everything that we do. And that's completely true.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cool.
There's going to be... Yeah. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. Because there's AI in... There's going to be AI in everything. There's going to be AI in all the gaming. There's going to be AI in all of the public interface with businesses. And then there's going to be AI in real life.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where, like, if you go to Google and you type in something now, you're going to see an AI generated response at the top. Bing's been doing it for over 2 years.
Yeah.
So you've got Bing, Google, Yahoo, all of these search engines are now implementing AI into everything.
Fuck yeah.
So, like, not only that, but like Microsoft, for instance. Microsoft has Copilot. Copilot is the built-in AI for Microsoft. So with Windows 11, you have Copilot now. So you can literally just go, hey, can you generate this image for me? Sure. And it will. ChatGPT is now implemented with DALL-E. You've seen people generate AI images and all this kind of stuff. DALL-E is an image processing unit. And it's now integrated with ChatGPT 4.0. It's awesome. Like, but one of the cool things about, like, I'm excited because, as you know, my wife is pregnant, and I'm going to have my first kid. Yay! Which is dope. Copilot does one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Because I have all of these great books and great stories that I can tell my kids, and we can read these books and whatnot. But say my kid wants just a quick bedtime story. If I don't know a bedtime story, I can literally go to Copilot and be like, hey, can you generate me a bedtime story that involves this. And it will generate a bedtime story with images and everything else, and it puts it together like a book. So you can sit there on a tablet and just... You have a brand new story, a brand new bedtime like story that you can share with your kids. And the cool thing about it is that you can then use that to build an entire world. Because you can say, well, Dad, I really like that green frog named Harry. Can we have another story with him? And you can be like, hey, can we have another story with Harry? But this time introduce, a toucan named Bob. Right. And it'll be like, you got it. And it does it. And you end up generating this, and so people, kids are going to have, my bedtime stories were all the same shit, It was Dr. Seuss and fucking Clifford and that kind of stupid shit. Until I hit, the age of 10, and I was like, dude, I'm tired of this kind of stuff. Can I just read a fucking book?
Now it's going to be your whole world of imagination is going to come from
AI. And the cool thing about it is that every kid is not going to know the same stories. Mm-hmm. So it's just going to breed creativity.
Yeah. It's going to be more... That part makes it sound a little more isolating, the fact that kids aren't going to know the same stories, because then they won't share that experience of knowing the same story or the same whatever, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I've always thought about that, but it's also cool because at that point, what can happen is... So I've always thought we should go back to the art age, right? Art is super important for humanity.
Yeah.
And in everything now is art, and art's being stolen, and AI is using other people's art to generate, that kind of shit. Which is frustrating, but here's what's going to happen, and this is what I think at least. Kids are going to basically say, it's like, my dad told me a really good bedtime story last night. It was about this, and the other kid was like, oh, well, this is what mine was about. I wonder if our characters could meet.
Oh, yeah.
And now you end up with this collective of kids being like...
That's cool as shit, because, we grew up in the same neighborhood, so we had the same fucking story. Oh, that's dope as shit.
How cool is that idea,
that's
right?
Cool as shit.
I thought about that, and people think about the isolating side of it, but I'm like, think about this. Children are going to be generating new worlds. And so it's going to be whatever you think of, you can do.
Right.
How many times in your life have you heard...
Hit it more.
Hit it more.
Hit it more.
Hit it more.
Peer pressure. Now that I know we're the same age, now that I know we're peers.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
Yeah. I'm good for a bit, though.
Okay.
I just want to see where I'm at. But no, this whole, how many times in our lives have we been told, that's impossible? Because the technology didn't exist. It can't be done. So
yep. You
got people like us that it's like, it can't be done. And so we go and we fucking do it. We make it happen.
Now it's going to be even easier to find out how can it be done.
Yeah.
And they do it.
You good?
Yep. As Joker and Kai say, I was speaking Chokinese.
Chokinese. I like it. But yeah, no, it's so fucking cool to think about, because I love that idea of being able to, so I'm one of those people that I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just everybody knows me, I'm a nerd.
Woo.
And I'm gonna play Dungeons and Dragons with my kids. I'm gonna get them into it. That's just gonna be dope. I did pick up the game that you told me to, the Dungeon Mayhem. Dungeon Mayhem. Haven't played it yet. It just came in yesterday.
Cool.
I also ordered it from Temu because I got it for $5.
Yeah.
So I was like, dope.
Yeah, Temu's the shit.
But no, it's just so interesting to think about, how kids are going to it's you can build a Dungeons and Dragons game, and yeah, sure, it's kind of the same shit all the time. It's just it's like Taco Bell, right? It's the same ingredients, just in a different way.
Right.
But you're going to be able to generate worlds, come up with games, do all of these things. Hey, I want to make a game for my kid that is like Dungeons and Dragons, but easier. And then it comes up with it, and
so actually, I found a great training tool for kids. Actually,
Okay.
it's there's this game. I'll have to bring it down and show it to you. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's like Storytime Adventure or some shit like that.
Let me know what this is because so Christina has some friends and they've got 2 young sons and they're both like into Minecraft and fantasy shit and like the mom and dad both play Dungeons and Dragons and like Christina goes over every Sunday night and plays. They're playing Gloomhaven right now, War of the Lion. And I've been over there a couple of times, but I stream on Sunday nights, so I'm not usually there. But if I'm not streaming, I'll go over and I'll continue playing my character with them. But their kids are like, I think they're like 7 and 5 or 5 and 6, something like that. But the 7-year-old or 8-year-old, whatever he is he's like, could you teach me how to play Dungeons and Dragons? And I'm like, absolutely I can. And then Christina's like, oh, that's not a great idea because you're like a DM. And like they're young and they don't know all the rules. So I was looking for training tools for kids to get them into that kind of stuff. So
cool. So this thing, all it is it just gives you these pictures of these settings. You have like 8 setting scenarios.
Okay.
And then you get to draw so many cards from each pile, and it's the rules are very loose, but they give you 3 piles of cards. You have creatures, characters,
and items, I guess.
and animals.
Okay.
No, animals, characters, and stuff. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, or some shit. But yeah, and it was all. It's cool. You just make up a little story. So that's a really good way to introduce them into. It's kind of a kiddie way, you know, like
of getting them into fantasy, though. And like creativity and thinking about stories and trying to build things. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. So I don't know if it would help with an 8-year-old who was already interested in playing D&D, but it would definitely help.
But it would help the younger one.
Of like a 4-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, the younger one who's also like, I would love to play, but he could barely read. So something like that would be great for someone like that.
Yeah.
But like I said, they're super interested in it, and then we have some other friends, and their kids like 5, and so I have there's a couple of D&D modules that were made specifically for young. It's basically D&D for young adventurers, and I don't know if they're official wizards or if they were like an SRD that I downloaded and printed and just wirebound. But it was really cool because it just like I handed that to him, and that really helped him, and that's the only thing that I really found because they did a really good job of explaining it to kids.
This is also really cool, but this is gonna make a fuck of a noise.
Call to Adventure?
Call to Adventure.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know about it.
Yeah.
This would probably be, I think, something that would spark a good tabletop that would spark somebody's interest in like creative fantasy shit. I like that you cast runes instead of roll die. Maybe roll dice in these.
That's kind of cool. That is actually really, really fucking cool.
Shit's wrong in here. Don't you love it when you open your shit and shit's just wrong in here?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't too wrong. That's good.
Okay, that is kind of cool. I do like the rune system.
Have you ever played Fallout?
Yeah.
Are you like into it?
Yeah.
Fallout 4?
Fallout 4, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Alright.
Yeah, no, like I've played all of Fallout games, man. Even like the strategy ones from back in the day. So Fallout 1, Fallout 2.
Oh hell yeah.
Like Fallout 3, Fallout 4. Fallout 3, was it Fallout 3 New Vegas? Right? I think. Yeah.
New Vegas.
Or Fallout New Vegas, which was based off of the Fallout 3 engine, I guess. But yeah, no, Fallout 4 was great.
What game is this?
Well, I mean, you got Cards Against Humanity in your hand.
Yeah. That's just a stupid little game. That's a little dollar store game.
Little dinosaur game.
No, a little dollar store game.
Oh, dollar store game.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's golf dice.
Golf dice.
It's called Roll in One. It's a golf dice game. It's a golf themed dice game.
Okay.
Kind of like how Dungeon Mayhem is just a D&D themed
Card game.
Card game. Yeah. Because it doesn't really follow anything. It's just except that you have you get to choose between 4 different classes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either be the rogue or the paladin,
The wizard or the thief or whatever. Yeah.
wizard or the barbarian.
Barbarian. I told one of my favorites. So there's a guy that I work with, who's total nerd. And I was talking to somebody about Dungeons and Dragons, and he was like, and he kind of poked his head, and he's like, "Hey," I was like, "What's up, buddy?" He was like, "Are you talking about D&D?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "You play?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Cool." And he just kind of walked off, and I was like, "All right." And so I got to talking to him about it, and he's really big into it, and so is his fiance, and they just had their first kid, and he's like, "I'm so fucking excited. My son's gonna be able to play D&D. It's gonna be great." And like, if you look at him, if you looked at this guy, if you saw him, you would not think Dungeons and Dragons.
Really?
Yeah, like he is super clean shaven, like wears baseball caps and jerseys, and just really, really not the type that I would think D&D.
Yeah.
But he is super fun about it, and he was telling me a story about a barbarian in his party, and I was like, "Oh, that's great. I love barbarians." He's like, "Yeah, it's so frustrating though since they can't read, and because barbarians can't read.
Oh.
That's like a thing.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, they're illiterate. They can't read." So I was like, well, yeah, but, and then I thought about it, I was like, no, that was a house rule. And he was like, what was a house rule? And I went, oh, so I had my buddy, his name was Josh. He was DMing for us. And I was like, I want to play a barbarian. But I said, I want one favor from you as the DM. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I want to take the literacy feat. And he goes, barbarians can't read. And I was like, it's the literacy feat. Please, just give me this one thing. It does not break the character. It doesn't do anything like that. It just gives them the ability to speak and understand. And read, of course. And he was like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, great. So my barbarian is this big fucking hulking guy. He's got tiny little glasses with his, like, giant fucking head. And he always carries around an arcane tome with him. So we get into the first session, and I introduce my character, and they're like, they're all talking, and then I kind of walk up, like, whatever, and they just kind of look, and they're like, oh, and a barbarian. And he goes, well, I like to actually call myself a barbarian wizard. And they're like, you can talk? Quite eloquently, yes. And they're like, so fucking confused. They're just like, what the shit? And so Josh, he comes to me and he goes, you didn't say you were going to be multi-classing a barbarian with a wizard. And I went, I'm not. He goes, what? No, I'm not. And he goes, I'm so confused. So first session ends, everybody loves the barbarian because he's talking about philosophy and art and all the places he's been, like the fucking architecture, like everything. He's great. Everybody loves him. So I'm hanging out with Josh that night. Everybody had left. And he was like, what the fuck do you mean you're not multi-classing? And I went, no. He's a barbarian who thinks that he's a wizard. So he spends all of his free time meditating and trying to learn the spells that are in his arcane tome. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like never going to be able to cast one, right? And he's like, yeah, I know that. He doesn't. Yeah. and they're like, okay. And so this campaign went on for about 4 years. And it was awesome. Because at one point, we're in a really bad situation. We had been gone for we didn't play for 6 months. and we got back into it. So I asked Josh, I said, during that 6 months, can I go off and find like a Wizards Academy or something like that I can just study in? And he's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. So I spent 6 months and I mapped out the entire 6 months of what he did. And I gave it to him and he's like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. We got into a bad place and I'm sitting there with this newfound power, basically. Or at least I think I have newfound power. Nothing's ever come of it. And we're sitting there. We're surrounded. There's like fucking things we're gonna die. Like there's no way we can win this battle. And so I tell everybody to get behind me. I go, get behind me. And they're like, what? Stand behind me. I've got this. And I go, I would like to try to roll to cast Fireball. And Josh looks at me and he goes, I'll allow it. Go for it. My intelligence was a 20. So I got +5 there. I roll. Everybody's at the table. Everybody, you could hear a pin drop, basically. Nat fucking 20. And Josh goes, yeah, that succeeds.
Damn.
Roll for damage.
Wow.
And it was the coolest shit ever because Josh was like, a brand new, glowing aura engulfs you in flames and you cast Fireball, basically. And I'm just like, what in the absolute fuck? This is the best. Rolled for damage, killed everything. And I just look at my hand and I'm like, I fucking did it. I'm a real wizard. I fucking did it, And it's the best. And I turn around and everybody is looking at me like, oh no, we have a problem. And I'm like, what's the problem? And they're like, we have a barbarian that can turn into a bomb. And I was like, I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a win.
Yeah.
And everybody was just like, oh my god. And that campaign was so fucking fun. Because the DM was great. He's one of the best DMs I've ever met. Super cool, really relaxed. But if it's going to break something, he won't let you do it. But in this situation, he was like, okay, that's kind of fucking cool. And I really like this character. And so, we talked about, we still talk about that campaign. I'm talking about it now, but we have talked about that campaign every single time we get together. Everybody's just we'll have new people over and they'll be, it's like, what's some of your favorite D&D stories or whatever, and we'll just be talking about it. And people just be like, oh, we had a barbarian that could turn into a bomb. And everybody just kind of looked and like, what the fuck? And then they tell the story, and everybody's like, oh my god, that's great. And I'm like, yeah, I was that barbarian. And Josh was like, yeah, let him take literacy, and it was the best fucking decision ever. So it's a house rule for him now that if a barbarian wants to take literacy, they can. So, yeah, just stupid fucking D&D shit that's just the best. And those are my favorite kind of games. And those are stories that you can tell your kids, because they're hilarious. And they'll be like, you did that in Dungeons & Dragons? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, I want to do that in Dungeons & Dragons. And then they'll come up with their own crazy-ass ideas. Mm-hmm. We've got a friend of ours who, they've got a 10-year-old. And the 10-year-old was they were doing a little dungeon crawl one night. And we were over there. And kid was they were in sort of a jungled area trying to get through this to get some fucking where. And the kid is sitting there, and he's like a hunter. He's like, I'm a ranger, and I can tame animals, and they love me, and all that kind of thing. We're like, okay, cool. And so they're going through, and then all of a sudden, 3 raptors just fucking here. You're gonna die. Cool. No big deal. And kid's like, I want to tame the raptors. And you can try, buddy, but, you might lose a hand, And he was like, I got this. I've seen Jurassic Park a number of times. And so he's like doing the motions and shit, trying to like tame these raptors. And he succeeded. And so we all had mounts. So we ended up going into a town and just like
riding raptors.
Riding fucking dinosaurs. And I was just like, only a fucking 10-year-old would come up with that idea, and it's beautiful.
It works like a motherfucker.
And he was just like, I got this. And we were like, hey buddy, what did you name your raptor? He's like, Blue. And I think that was the name of the raptor in Jurassic Park. That was like his best friend or whatever. So I'm just like, this is fucking or Jurassic World. It wasn't Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. But no, it's one of those things where it's fucking hilarious, man. I'm just like, fucking kid got us raptor mounts. And like with that came the respect of the other raptors, because they were just like, aw, we were hungry. Fuck. So like, fucking good on you, kid. That's what I got for you. Like, good on you. What are some of your favorite D&D moments?
I haven't had very many.
We gotta fix that.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had many D&D moments. Over the lockdown, me and the twins taught ourselves how to play.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was a good time to learn, man. A lot of people started playing.
Yeah.
Like that was a good time for tabletop gaming in general.
Yeah.
Because people were quarantined together and they had to have some shit to do, so they ended up buying tabletop games and just started playing them.
Right.
A huge boom.
We had a cool little space in our basement, and we would sit down there, and I was homeschooling them at the time.
Yeah.
So like we were already down there a lot, and then I broke it out, and they were interested in playing. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. Like, yeah, we'll have to definitely have some. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start up a new campaign. Like I said, I want to make a Discord bot, so I want to do something with that, because that'd be really fucking cool.
Yeah.
That way, basically makes a living, breathing world, which is kind of cool. So.
Cool.
But yeah, no, I've been playing D&D now for 30 years. 31 years, because I started when I was 5. My dad was a nerd. So he was like, hey, you want to play? And I'd be like, what is it? And he'd tell me, and I'd be like, yeah, that sounds kind of cool. And I started playing. And
my youngest over there, Billy,
mm-hmm.
she plays Magic and Pokemon already.
Nice.
But she hasn't gotten into D&D yet. She's interested in it. She plays Neverwinter and shit like that.
Dope.
Yeah.
Because Neverwinter is D&D, right?
Yeah.
Or Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I've always I've always played. Like I led my first game when I was 12. So like I've been DMing for 25, 26 years. So it's one of those things where I would just throw like little random one shots together for lunch. Like, and my friends would be super into it, and it was always really nice, because every school that I went to, there weren't really cliques. Like, there weren't really like, oh, you got the jocks and you've got the goths and the nerds, and everybody just kind of fucking talked to everybody. So like, one of my favorite players that I've ever played with, and I played like all through like elementary school and middle school with, because we went to the same schools and we were in the same classes, which was awesome. And he lived really close. He's like 2 roads down from where I live, so I could just go over his house. He could come over all the time. But total jock. Like, plays every sport, does everything, plays golf today, like, just total jock. Mm-hmm. One of the most fun D&D players I've ever had the experience to play with. And he always played random shit. Like, he would come up with ideas, and he'd just be like, hey, do you think this would work? And I'd be like, no. He'd be like, all right, cool, I'm going to try it. And I'd be like, what the fuck? And it would be something stupid. It was like, he would be like a barbarian thief. He would and I'm like, what? Bro, you can't fit through the fucking doors. He's like, but I'm sneaky. Like, stupid shit like that. And I'd just be like, okay. And it led to some hilarious moments. Like, he was sitting there and, like, there was a door that was locked and we had to get into it. And we had to be very quiet. And he passed his stealth checks and everything well. So we get to the door. and he's the only one with thieves' tools. So he's like, all right. And he goes to, like, put the lockpick in, and it just goes, boom, through the door. And he's like, oh, shit. Do you think they heard that? You know? Stupid shit like that. I'm just like, okay, buddy. Like, and so I would let him do stupid shit. Those are the most fun things. I fucking love people being dumb. Like, just play dumb characters. Like, I was playing a game with friends where, like, a friend of mine had fucking, He asked me, because I was running the game. It was like, I would run a game 1 week, then somebody else would add to it and run it the next week. Or sometimes we do 2-week chunks based off the story. And then everybody would add to the story at their own way. So everybody was kind of a DM. And we just had, like, he would just come up with the most random fucking things that you could ever do. And I'm just like, what in the shit? He's like, yeah, I want to do a jump check. For what? To see if I can jump. Why the fuck else would I do it? Why do you want to jump? I don't know. I just feel like jumping. Can I do it? like what the fuck? Like, and people be like, yeah, sure, you roll the jump check. And he goes, oh fuck, I failed it. You fall on your face. And he's like, damn. And then like 2 hours later, he'd be like, hey, can I do a jump check? They'd be like, yeah, but you do this one with disadvantage. Fuck! Like, just be like, what the shit? He's just the most, like I said, the most fucking hilarious guy to play with. Just because, and you would never know it, because if you looked at it, like, he's going to be able to tell you who was on, you know, like, who was on the sports ball last night, and, tell you everything about the fucking game. But then he comes up with shit like that. Like, one day he was like, he was playing a mage, and he was like, yeah, I want to use Engorge. And we're like, oh fuck, where's this going? Because Engorge, it makes things bigger. So we're instantly thinking, like, he saw a nice lady over here, and he was just like, I want to use Engorge. They're like, fine, okay, whatever. And he rolls and he passes. And he goes, great. And he engorges a hamster. So there's just a giant fucking hamster. And the hamster's like, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't know what's going on. It's just like, I was down here, now I'm here. I'm as big as you are. I'm confused. And he was like, I want to try to ride the hamster. Stupid shit like that, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm just like, I fucking love you. And I miss that we don't get to play as much anymore. Because, I mean, we still play. It's like twice a year. But it's always just amazing just because he's the most hilarious fucking human. Like, he's the nicest guy in the fucking world, and he's fucking hilarious. And I'm just like, holy shit. But at one point, we got dumped into a room that filled with water. Like, and he was like, I hope everybody has potions of water breathing, or have the water breathing spell, or have a scroll of water breathing. And everybody's like, fuck, we don't. And he's like, sucks to be you. and everybody's like, are you gonna help us? And he's like, fuck you want me to do? And they're like, you can cast your water breathing spell on us. And he's like, I don't think that's how that works. And we're like, read the fucking thing. And he reads it and he goes, yeah, I don't think that's how that works. And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he reads it and he's like, yeah, I don't think that's how that works. And so we're like, okay, you're not going to help us. And he goes, no, I'm not. And they're like, fuck, okay, we need to kill the fucking wizard. And he's like, well, if you kill me, then I can't help you. And they're like, oh, so you're thinking about it. Well, no, it was a hypothetical. And fucking help us, you know? And the water's getting there, and he's just like diving, just like going for a swim, come back up. You guys okay? Being a dickhead, as you would in that situation. And then as the water starts going over and we have no more breath to give, he just goes, doot, doot, doot. You didn't think I was going to let you die, did you? Shakes fist in anger. And then he got punched in the face. And he was like, what was that for? And people were just like, you are insufferable. And he's like, yeah, I know. It's my middle name.
Did the character get punched or the player get punched?
The character.
Just like, curious.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the player. Everybody loves him when he does this kind of shit. Because in the moment, in the moment, it's the absolute fucking best. Like, it's so fun to have somebody like that. And, like, I've played in so many games where the DMs have been so super uptight. They want you to do their story their way, and if you don't, it's over, basically, and it's a miserable experience. But all of the people that I play with, for the most part nowadays, everybody is so just free-flowing and open about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they have key points that they want you to reach, but how you reach like the journey, that's what matters. So you guys make it up.
Right.
And so that's why I absolutely love playing with the guys that I do play with, because, you know, it's like with Ryan. He's a great fucking guy, but just one of the best, like, DMs I've ever played with, just because he's so good at, like, somebody will come up and be like, I want to intimidate the clerk, you know, like, to try to get answers out of them or whatever. And he's like, okay, but you gotta really mean it. And they'll be like, yeah, I want to intimidate. And he goes, you gotta mean it. And they're like, okay, fine, I mean it. And he's like, really mean it. I'm like, and they're like getting irritated with him, and he's like, uh-huh, you're almost there, but you gotta really mean it. And he's just so nice about it, and they get pissed off, and they like roar at him, and he's like, yeah, like that. Roll it with advantage. And they'll be like, what the fuck? And Nat fucking 20, yeah, he just pissed himself. Like, you know, it's so fucking good. You know, and like, if you really meant it, he'd be like, and I give you an inspiration die for that. Like, it was just so fucking fun, because he just made the game just so free-flowing. And all of his points were valid, and everything that he did was great. The story was fantastic. And the best part about it is that, like, he's like me. I'll write a story in my head, and I'll go, okay, this is what I want. There's so many ways to get there, and I'll come up with like 50 different scenarios for each thing. I might use one of those scenarios throughout the entire campaign. Because it's totally fine. But he was always so good. He'd be like, he would take into account everything that happened. And he would then add that into the story later, like things that, like, the butterfly effect, everything that it affected. And, you know, like, there was one day we were dealing with some bandits, and one of the bandits held, like, a prince hostage or something, and, well, somebody missed, and, well, kid died. And, he was like, fuck, that completely changes something that I was thinking about, sparked in his head, and it completely changed the world forever. And it was just, and we went back and we read some of his notes, and how the story changes is just so fucking fluid for him, and he just does a really good job of it. So
that's cool.
So, yeah, we've gone from AI to, like, magic and AI, and fucking D&D, yeah. Total nerdcast.
The Nerdcast. Oh, yeah. That's right, pod damn it.
I feel that.
Yeah. I'm going to pause for a piss break.
Go for it.